What's happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where for today's video, thanks to Killerbody, we're going to be checking out their Transformers Revenge of the Fallen / Dark of the Moon Scalpel. Now, for those of you looking to pick one of these guys up for yourselves, definitely be sure to check out the links down in the description box below. But Doctor, now let's examine this fragile specimen, and this is a really cool life-size recreation of the actual CG design. Now, Scalpel never had too much screen time when it came to Revenge of the Fallen, but I thought was easily one of the creepiest Decepticons out of the bunch, and the design is actually savage. So as we check out the details, the face sculpt has been so nicely painted and sculpted. Check out the lenses, which are accurate to the movie. He did kind of flip these down just as he was examining Sam Witwicky. I also like the antennas flaring out top, and the Super 6 rated spinal column looks brutal. I also think the piston detail for the neck is pretty impressive, as well as the strands of circuitry holding the elbow joint into place. It does just look super cool, and most of this guy is plastic, yet the paint is so realistic that you would believe him to be a big lump of die cast, so that's definitely pretty impressive. Now, he was the Decepticon Doctor. He was sent in to get the Cybertronian hieroglyphs out of Sam Witwicky's head, and his method of extracting those was to cut it out of him. So let's check out what tools / weapons this guy has at his disposal. And they are pretty brutal. So first up, we get this blade, which I think he uses to slash Sam Witwicky's cheek. And then the second one is by far his most iconic weapon, that being the buzzsaw. We shall cut the brain. Very nicely detailed. It even spins, so he shouldn't have any issues in extracting those hieroglyphs. And the integration is pretty seamless, so you basically pop off the very tips of the front two legs and then just attach these on. Despite him without a doubt being one of the smallest Decepticons, he still looks super savage. That is one thing which I loved about those Michael Bay Decepticons. All of them just came across as being so strange, so creepy, and so sick looking, and Scalpel, I think, again, is a prime example of that. But despite looking awesome, he's also pretty well articulated. So up front, we do get these brows. Right now, I have them extended to make him look super sinister, but you can take them, dip them down to make him look a little cuter. Maybe he's had the touch of Megan Fox and has decided to join the Autobots in their battle against the Decepticons. I actually think that is kind of cool. They are super emotive, and the neck is awesome. So up first, we have a ball joint, which allows this to look up, down, tilt side to side, and kind of look left to right. There's then two joints here at the neck, and one of them is an actual working piston. So if you use both of them at the same time, check this out. It does actually work as a functioning piston, which I thought was awesome. The shoulders are articulated at two hinge joints, so this can be brought forwards that far. The elbow can then bend, and the very tip of the thumb is on a hinge joint, so you can move this back and forwards, and all of the legs have the same amount of posability. So there are ball joints at the base, which allow them to be risen up and down. They can then hinge forwards and backwards, and there are also, I think, two knee joints, so you can hinge it at one point here, forwards and backwards, so again, scraping the cheek of Sam Witwicky, and then kind of at the very tip, you can further extend that to make him either risen or lowered, depending on how you want to pose him. And then finally, for features, they also integrated an electronic function where the eyes illuminate and he begins making these rather strange alien insect sounds. So if you push this button up top, bang! Check that out. So the eyes do illuminate, and it kind of sounds like he's going Witwicky, 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 which I thought was pretty cool. Now, once you activate this, it pretty much just sounds off whenever it wants, and then eventually it will stop. I don't think there's an actual off switch. But there is no denying, with those eyes illuminated, it really does bring this guy to life. It would have been wicked had there been a permanent option where you could leave them on at all times, because I think that would have been pretty sick, especially for display. But the sound effect is definitely a really nice added bonus, and does seem to be pretty accurate to the movie. Now, comparison-wise, I believe Scalpel is directly modelled after the actual CG design, so size-wise, it's supposed to only scale with humans and their Dark of the Moon Megatron prop replica helmet. I believe the idea is to have Scalpel clinging to Megatron's battle damage to give you the impression that the Decepticon Doctor is trying to repair his leader, something which we unfortunately never saw in the Transformers 3 movie, but just to give you a sense of scale, here is how he stacks up alongside the Voyager-class Optimus Prime. And then finally, literally the leader class Rise of the Beasts Optimus Primal. So hopefully you guys can kind of gauge that he's roughly the same size as Primal's Beast Mode. Unfortunately, I cannot find my 2009 deluxe version anywhere. That release could transform into an actual telescope. Because this is supposed to be a prop replica, it sadly doesn't have an alt form, but we did primarily see him in robot mode, so in all honesty, I don't mind it at all. And so, wrapping up on this review for the Killerbody Transformers Dark of the Moon Scalpel. I think this guy is really cool, and for those of you that are into super realistic, super accurate, almost prop replica representations of some of the CG models, then I think you guys are really going to like this, especially if you also own the Dark of the Moon Megatron helmet, as this is supposed to be a companion piece to that, but just on its own is a really cool looking figure, and the accessories are a really nice touch, especially that buzzsaw, as that was his iconic weapon in the movie, and I think the LEDs and the sound effects are a nice inclusion, although I wish the functionality could have worked a little better, because once you hit that switch, the eyes kind of flicker on and off. It would have been cool had they just remained on until you turn them off, and the same can be said about the sound effect. It does just kind of go on for a little longer than I'd like, so an on and an off switch I think would most definitely be welcome, but overall it's a solid piece. I'd love to get your thoughts on Scalpel down in the comment section below, and if you are after picking this guy up, be sure to check out the links in the description box. I want to say a huge thank you to Killerbody, and until my next review, thank you guys for checking this out. Transform and roll out!